Forget the boots.
No. They're part of my job, which doesn't include being your plaything, and I flatter myself it never will. Above that.
Aren't we proud?
In some respects, yes. In others, not.
Have you ever been in love?
Oh, we don't use that word, but I've been fond of a lot of girls, yes. Oh, and once I was sick because I couldn't get the one I wanted. Yes, sick, do you hear? Like one of those princes in the Arabian Nights who couldn't eat or sleep because of love.
Who was she? Who was she?
You cannot order me to answer that.
Well, if I ask you as an equal, as a friend, who was she?
You.
How absurd.
Oh, yes. If you like, it was absurd. Look, this was the story I didn't want to tell you before. All right, now I will tell you. Do you know what the world looks like from down here? Of course you don't. You're like hawks or eagles. We never see your backs, because most of the time you spend hovering above us. I lived in a hut with 7 brothers and sisters and a pig. Out there in the grey field where not even the trees grew. Oh, but from the window, I could see the wall of his lordship's park. And there were apple trees rising above it. It was like the Garden of Paradise. And there were many evil angels with fiery swords to guard it. But despite that, I and other small boys managed to find our way through to the Tree of Life. Suppose you despise me now.
Oh, I suppose all boys steal apples.
You can say that, but you do despise me. However, one day, I went into the great park with my mother to weed the onion beds. Now, on the other side of the garden, there was a Turkish pavilion. In the shade of jasmine trees, it was covered in honeysuckle. I'd never seen such a building. I wondered what it could be for. People went in, and they came out again. Once, just once, the door was left open. So I crept up, I looked inside, and I could see that the walls were covered with pictures of kings and emperors, and there were red velvet curtains on the windows with tassels. Ah, yes. Now you understand. It was, of course, the lavatory. I'd never been into the big house. All I'd ever seen was the church, but this was more beautiful. I couldn't get it out of my mind. And gradually, I began to long to experience the full ecstasy of actually... Enfin, I tiptoed inside, I saw... and I marvelled. But somebody's coming. Now, there's only one way out for lords and ladies, but for me, a small boy, there was another. And I took it. And then I broke through a raspberry hedge, charged across a strawberry patch, and then I found myself on a terrace with a rose garden, and there I saw a pink dress with white stockings. You. I hid under a pile of weeds. Under, if you can imagine that, with thistles that pricked me and wet earth that stank, like me. And I looked at you as you walked among the roses, and I thought, if it's true that a thief can enter the kingdom of heaven and dwell among the angels, it's strange that a peasant's son here on earth cannot enter the great park and play with a count's daughter.
Do you suppose all poor children have ideas like you?
To all poor... yes. Yes, of course. Of course.
Must be a dreadful misfortune to be poor.
Oh, Miss Julie. A dog may lie on the Countess's sofa. A horse may have his nose patted by a young lady's hand, but a servant... Oh, now and then a man has strength enough to hoist himself up in the world, but how often does that happen? Do you know what I did? I went down into the water of the mill stream with my clothes on, and they dragged me out and they beat me. But the following Sunday, when my father and all the others had gone to visit my grandmother, I managed to arrange things so that I could stay at home. And I scrubbed myself with soap and hot water, I put on my best clothes, and I went to church in order that I might see you. And I saw you. And I went home determined to die. But, of course, I wanted to die pleasantly, beautifully, without pain. And then I remembered it was dangerous to sleep under an elder bush. We had one in the garden. It was in full bloom, so I stripped it and I lay down in the oat bin and covered myself with flowers. Have you ever noticed how beautiful oats are? They're soft to the touch, like human skin. Well, then I shut the lid and I closed my eyes and I fell asleep. And then I woke up again, feeling really rather ill. And as you can see, I didn't die. What did I want? I don't know. I had no hope of winning you, of course, but you became to me the symbol of the hopelessness of ever climbing out of the class into which I was born.
Do you know, you're quite a raconteur. Did you ever go to school?
Oh, for a while. And I've read a lot of novels and been to the theatre. But then I've heard the gentry talking, and that's where I've learned most.
Do you listen to what we say?
Oh, yes. You'd be surprised what I hear up on the coachman's box or out rowing the boat. I remember on one occasion I heard you and a young lady friend.
Indeed? What did you hear?
Oh, I couldn't possibly repeat it, but it did surprise me. I wondered where you learned all those words. Perhaps there isn't such a difference as we suppose between people and people.
Oh, rubbish. We don't act like you do when we're engaged.
Be sure. Oh, come now, Miss Julie. You don't have to play the innocent with me.
The man I was in love with was a beast.
That's what they all say afterwards.
Oh.
I have heard the expression before on similar occasions.
What occasions?
Similar to the one in question. The last time...
Be quiet. I don't want to hear any more.
She didn't want to either. Strange. Well, have I your permission to go to bed?
Go to bed? On Midsummer Eve?
Yes. Dancing with that pack out there doesn't greatly amuse me.
Get the key to the boathouse. Row me out onto the lake. I want to see the sun rise.
Is that wise?
You speak as though you were frightened of your reputation.
Oh, yes, I am. I don't want to be made a laughingstock. Perhaps get sacked without a reference. Now I'm beginning to make my way. Besides, I have a certain responsibility towards Kristin.
Ah, it's Kristin now, is it?
Yes, but you two, please, take my advice. Go to your room and go to bed.
Am I to obey you?
Just this once, please, for your own sake, I beg you. It's late. Drowsiness makes one drunk. One's head grows dizzy. Besides, listen, if I'm not mistaken, the other servants are coming to look for me. If they find you here, you're lost.
I know these people, and I love them as I know they love me. Let them come here and I'll prove it to you.
They don't love you, Miss Julie. They take your food, and when your back is turned, they spit at you. Listen to them. Listen to what they're singing. No, don't listen.
What are they singing?
It's a filthy song about you and me.
How dare they? Traitors.
Oh, that's what they're like. You can't fight them. You can only run away.
Run away? Where? We can't go outside or into Kristin's room.
No, well, to my room, then. No, we mustn't bother about conventions now. You can trust me. I'm your loyal, true, and respectful friend.
Supposing they look for you.
Well, then I'll bolt the door. And if they try and break it down, I'll shoot. Please. Please, come.
Do you promise me?
I swear.